Man, I wish it was 2006 and I could get away with this shitty camera quality, but unfortunately, it's 2024. Um, and I think know that this is kind of unacceptable. To be honest, I don't really watch a lot of new YouTubers though, so I don't really know what the get up and setup is these days. But anyway, hello, my name is Katie, and for many, many years, I have wanted to set up a YouTube channel, mainly for books. So I guess this is what we're doing today. I was literally just now just doing the dishes, and the thought popped into my head, and I just thought to myself, Katie, if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it because this is something, like I said, that I've wanted to do for absolute ages. I think that I will love it. I think it will bring me great joy as a hobby to do. So, without further ado, decided to record my first video because I went into town today and I did a little bit of a book haul of not really. Basically, I'm a full-time student, so don't really get a lot of time. I study medicine as well, so things are really busy. Anyways, my point is, I hadn't really been book shopping in a while, and so I treated myself today. So I'm gonna make a video about what I bought. So I went to, actually, am I allowed to say? I went to Waterstones. I think I don't know. I don't know any of the rules, guys. Okay, so my first book is The Palace of Eros. So one thing you should know about me is that I love Greek mythology retellings. Like most of the time, if I see a Greek mythology retelling, I will add it to my TBR like immediately, if not buy the book, if I see it physically. I should say that my family is originally from Greece, so I grew up with a lot of the Greek myths as almost like my bedtime stories. And I would have lots of books, like children's books about like the Greek myths. So this was like my version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Saying that, it's not like I didn't have Snow White because definitely did have Snow White, and I'm definitely also a big fairy tale buff. Fairy tale retellings are probably the only thing that come that the Greek retellings are probably the mythology retellings are probably the only thing that trumps fairy tale retellings. And I just like reimaginings of stories that I already know, basically, because even like rewrites of um famous books. Like for example, like Julia that came out, I think it was about a year ago now. I really, really want to read because 1984 is one of my favorite books. I basically like reading like different versions of stories because I like to compare different versions and I like to analyze and see, how different people take those same stories and reimagine them and do really creative things with them. So I guess that's the core of it, but Greek mythology definitely really, really up there for me. And I am a really big fan of actually this story in particular actually is a bit different for me because I actually wasn't familiar with it until quite recently. So I'm currently plowing my way through the Ryan-verse because I am extremely late to the trend and I never read Percy Jackson when I was younger. So I've now, like this year, read Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus series, and I just finished the Kane Chronicles. I'm reading Demigods and Magicians right now, which is the crossover series and like crossover book. Three short stories that is basically three short stories crossing over between the two worlds. And I also read the two of the companion books, which was Percy Jackson's Greek Gods and Percy Jackson and the Greek Heroes. And the story of Psyche and Eros was in Percy Jackson and the Greek Heroes. And that was actually the first time that I had heard that story. And I really liked it. And I also realized that it was probably inspiration behind the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale, which kind of blew my mind because there's a lot of parallels. So I actually kind of want to do a bit of research to see if there actually is a link or if it's just coincidence. But I think there must be a link. So kind of blending of fairy tales there. So in case you don't know the story, Eros is the god of love. He's the son of Aphrodite, and Psyche is one of the most beautiful women. I think she is the most beautiful woman on earth. If you're a Greek mythology buff like me, you're probably thinking, what about Helen of Troy? I don't know how she fits into this. I think that this is probably either set hundreds of years before or hundreds of years after. I don't know how it fits in. I suspect before. But Helen of Troy hasn't been born yet, so Psyche is like the prettiest mortal like in the world, and Aphrodite is really jealous of her, so she sends her son Eros to kill her or to punish her. But Eros, in turn, falls in love with her, and it's kind of their story, kind of like forbidden romance. Um, so yeah, and in this book that I thought was quite intriguing, Eros is kind of gender fluid, and I think presents mostly as a woman. As you can see here, it is kind of a female-looking body on the cover. And I thought that was really interesting. I like spins on traditional stories. So it makes sense for a god to be gender fluid because they literally have like no sense of gender or like mortal human identity. So I think it makes a lot of sense to like have a look at it from that angle. So yeah, really looking forward to this. Although right now, like I said, I'm kind of invested in the Rodenverse, so I don't know when I'm going to read this. We'll see. But yeah, there's the Palace of Eros. And then this is kind of a bit random for me because I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but a guide to the ancient gods and legends of the Egyptian myths. Like I said, I really like mythology, not just Greek. Kind of when I was younger, I was really into Egyptian mythology as well. I probably knew more Egyptian mythology when I was younger. I've probably forgotten it now, but I had like loads of books about ancient Egypt, lots of pop-up books, and like the pyramids would come out, and like the reed boats would come out, and like I remember when I was like in primary school, I wrote an essay about all the different steps of mummification, which I've forgotten about now. But yeah, Egyptian mythology, Egyptian culture, another thing for me, which has kind of been reignited recently by reading the King Chronicles, which if you don't know, but anyway, I'm not going to assume, is Rick Riordan's other series, author Percy Jackson, a very similar setup to Percy Jackson, but based on the Egyptian gods and myths. And it kind of got me thinking, so I bought it, and I already have. I don't read too much nonfiction, but today when I was in the bookshop, I was like, you know what? Like I'm kind of craving some nonfiction. I kind of want to expand my horizons a little bit, and I really like this series. This kind of, I don't know what they call it, but Thames and Hudson, I guess. Um, I have a very similar book called the Norse myths, and it was kind of all together. I think there was Japanese myths, Chinese myths. I think it's a whole series done by like the same group of people roughly, on like all the different mythologies of the world. So I will slowly be working my way through them. Now we have a bit of Uglies by Scott Westerfield. So like all of us, I had a YA dystopia phase when I was younger. But I say that, but to be honest, the only one I really read was the Hunger Games. I think when I was younger, I didn't read much fiction. I've kind of swapped over. I've read more non-fiction. Like I said, like I was reading like children's books about um, mythology and things like that and history, and I wasn't reading much fiction at the time. So I was kind of I read Hunger Games, but I actually think that's it. I watched a lot of the films, like I watched the Hunger Games films and I watched the Divergent films. Um, I saw this around at the time, but I never read it. Um, and this was kind of sparked, honestly, by the new Netflix film that just came out. I watched it. Look, I'm not saying it was fantastic, but like it was okay. I watched it like on like just a nice night that I took off from studying, and I was like, you know what, that was a okay film. Um, the acting was a bit, and I just felt like it was a bit rushed, but the pacing was a bit off. Honestly, I actually that film actually kind of made me like Joey King. That is her name, isn't it? Because I kind of low key hate the Kissing Booth films, so I kind of really hated her for this film. But this film, actually, I liked her. I thought she acted quite decently in it. Um, yeah, so then I was like, you know what? I saw it in Waterstones and I was like, why not? Let's give it a go. And this book I actually don't know much about. It's The Sword of Shannara, and technically it's not for me. I am going to be giving it to my mum as a birthday present because her birthday is coming up. But me and my mum, we share a lot of books anyway, so it's kind of a way of getting her a present, or also like, maybe I'll read it sometime. So the reason that I wanted to give it to my mum is because this was also adapted into a TV series a few years ago now, but me and my mum watched it quite recently together on one of my visits home, and like, it's not like it wasn't fantastic, but it's just kind of like a shitty thing to watch and pass the time and switch off your brain. So even though I've heard that the books are like better than the series like dumbed it down like a lot. So I guess we'll see. But I don't actually know much about the books. I know there's lots of them. There's like a main trilogy, but then there's like a lot of spin-offs. I know basically from the TV series, what I know is that it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity has kind of regressed, and also there's like developed like it's kind of like a Middle Earth setup with like the traditional races of like I forgot now, but like elves, dwarves, but it's not. But they have come about as a result of like the increased like radiation of like post-apocalyptic Earth. But the vibes are very like high fantasy, despite the fact that technically speaking, this is post-apocalyptic. In the TV series, anyways, we only kind of find out like halfway through the first season that this is our world, right? So yeah, I basically bought it for my mum, but we'll see. I might like it. I don't really know much about it, to be honest, but there we go. And that's it. That is my mini book haul from my visit to Waterstones today. Um, Thank you very much. I might make a video just talking about the Ridenverse and my thoughts on the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus series and the King Chronicles. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how this goes, and hopefully I get the courage to actually upload this. Yeah, it was nice to introduce myself to all of you being probably the 2 people that will ever watch this video. But if I made you smile, then it was worth it. Bye!